Avengers directors say Marvel's recent problems aren't due to superhero fatigue, but a big generational divide about how you consume media. No, that's completely false. That's completely false. We know that because it's been a slow and steady decline. It's got nothing to do with generational divides. Why suddenly is there a generational divide? Like in the span of a couple of months between movies and TV shows. No, everyone knows this is the case. It's because you're putting out garbage media. What it actually is that people sick of it. You know, money's tight. People are being much more discerning about where they spend their money. And then the likes of the Russo brothers basically just being out of touch. And I guess, unfortunately, like protecting themselves? I don't know. It seems all of Hollywood just puts their head in the sand and goes, la la la, not listening, nah. It's like, mate, it's the writing's on the wall for this crap. So anyway, let's hit subscribe if you're new here, turn the bell notifications on. Let's take a look at the recent, I don't know what you'd even call this, to be fair. I'm looking at it now. I don't know. The blame game for superhero movies. What's the betting? They'll suddenly announce they're making a superhero movie. I'll bet you anything. So let's take a look. Filmmakers Joe and Anthony Russo were responsible for some of Marvel's biggest box office hits. True. And then they went way off from what those guys did. Because they did good stuff. Captain America Civil War, great action, great film. First and foremost, it's an action film, right? Didn't need to keep up in the ante to this nonsense. Yeah, they did Endgame, sure. You know? Infinity War and Endgame, right? Absolutely. Those were good. But then Marvel literally did not know what they were doing after that. So yeah, they say this, but they don't necessarily believe superhero fatigue is to blame for the studio's recent struggles. So Marvel had a tough 2023 with 2 flops. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and the Marvels. Right. Yeah. But there was also other films released that year as well, wasn't there? Pretty certain. Multiverse of Madness, yeah, these things, no? Pretty certain that was released in the same year. Some did better. Oh, I don't know. What was Guardians of the Galaxy? Yeah? Some did better, some did worse. That's not a generational divide between those movies in the same year, is it? Like, who are you trying to fool here? What are you doing? Idiots. Speaking recently to Games Radar, the director said that Marvel's current issues boil down to the changes in how people absorb media. It's a Hollywood-wide issue, not just a Marvel one. Press X to doubt on that. What about those other movies that released in the same year? What are you talking about? How is it a generational divide? What are you talking about, you dunce? I think it's a reflection of the current state of everything. Everything being shit. It's difficult right now to make people consume shit. It's an interesting time to try and make people consume shit. I think we're in a transitional period where people are sick of consuming shit. And people don't know quite yet how they're going to receive stories moving forward that aren't shit. That's all it boils down to, mate. And what kinds of stories they're going to want. Ones which are shit. I'm so demonetized from that. If you want to support the channel, guys, we've got merch, mr8shop.com, and you become a patron or a member of the channel. Links are down below. No, this is, honestly, that is a real thing, by the way. Merch. Go buy some. But this is all quite literally just down to what media is being produced. It's garbage. People are sick of the garbage. And the sort of shiny veneer of Marvel has completely eroded away now. Completely eroded away. You know, we've had string after, flop after flop, a string of garbage movies, garbage things. And people are just like, why am I paying for this? Like, you're lecturing me with garbage. Those characters, like Captain America. It's no longer Captain America, is it? Right? Like, there's all these things. People are like, no. The characters I liked and was invested in, they're not there anymore. And again, how does it account for the same films released in 2023 that did well? Here you go. There's a big generational divide about how you consume media. No, there's not. What are you talking about? There's a generation that's used to appointment viewing. What, the same people that made some successful and some not? What are you talking about? And going to a theatre on a certain date to see something, but it's aging out. In the same year? What are you talking about? Meanwhile, the new generation are, I want it now. I want to process it now. Then moving on to the next thing. How do you account for the same year? Movies that did well, movies which flopped. What are you talking? You are high if you think anyone's going to believe this. You're high if you believe this. Anyone watching and or the Russo brothers. This is insane. You know, it's a very different moment in time than it's ever been. Not in the same year. This would make sense if you're talking about 10 years ago versus today. It's not. You're literally talking about 2023 where there were the same... There were multiple movies released. Some were good, some were bad. Right? Or some did well, some did not. God, these people are insane. And so I think everyone, including Marvel, is experiencing the same thing. No. Well, no. Okay. No, technically you're right. Most people are, including Marvel, experiencing the same thing. But it says here, this is a transition. And I think that really is probably what's at play more than anything else. No. What people are experiencing, including Marvel and Disney, is the ramifications of their actions. Right? It's the chickens coming home to roost. You laid the framework for a bunch of garbage movies full of agenda primarily, right? First and foremost, you know, messaging. That's what we want to do. Messaging. Socio-political, whatever it may be. That's what we want to do. And then people are like, yeah, we've had enough of that now, actually. We don't want any more of that. That's divisive crap. The fun has gone. No, thank you. And it's not just Disney. It's everyone. Everyone is sick of this now. Everyone is experiencing this. Studios are experiencing the kickback from it, or the backlash. And everyone who's been consuming it is sick and tired of it because it's boring. Joe Russo noted that the new generation of moviegoers communicates largely through memes and headlines. Way to sound incredibly old. And largely, and says, with nobody reading past 2 sentences, so everything's 100 characters or less, or 10-second videos on social media you swipe through. That is not true. I think that the 2-hour format, the structure that goes into making a movie is over a century old now, and everything always transitions. So there is something happening again, and that form is repetitive, but it's hard to reinvent that form, and I think this next generation is looking for ways to tell their own stories that service their own sort of collective ADHD. Yes, that's right. Let's contribute to the brain rot out there. Good times. It says the superhero fatigue question was around long before the work we were doing. So it's sort of an eternal complaint, like we always used to cite this back in our early days with superhero work. People used to complain about westerns in the same way, but they lasted for decades and decades and decades. They were continually reinvented and brought to new heights as they went on. True, they also faded out. There you go. I mean, this is nonsense. Like, I could continue reading this. It's absolute garbage, though. I have nothing else I want to say on this because these people are so out of touch. It's insane. Just wait for them to announce a new superhero project that they're working on. I'll bet you anything. There's not a generational divide because there's been some which were good in the same year. What are you talking about?